Welcome, everybody, to our first Monday night episode of Ink and Paint. My name is Jill. I am here with my co host, Ashley,
Hey.
and we have Emma with us tonight
Hey, howdy, hey.
and Stephanie.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. So, tonight we are talking about Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, which happened exactly 10 days ago. And a lot of us were there. We saw a lot of crazy that went on. We have a lot of opinions about it that we want to share with you tonight. But before we get started, I do want to mention one, I think, significant thing for us here on Ink and Paint that happened yesterday, which is the passing of Ruthie Thompson. Ruthie Thompson was one of the Ink and Paint women from Walt and Roy's time. She actually lived to 111 years old. She worked on a number of films. She worked on Snow White. She worked on Fantasia. She worked on Dumbo. Started working with the Walt Disney Company doing animation even before World War II, and then kind of moved up in the company and did a lot of work for them. So um, wanted to pay recognition and honor to her as kind of one of the pioneering women of the Walt Disney Company. Um, so that is definitely something we want to acknowledge. So now I think let's talk about Walt Disney World and the 50th anniversary. So I know, Stephanie, you were there on October 1st. Emma, you were there not long after. Ashley, your
hmm
family was here. I think we all saw a lot of crazy stuff. Um, so I want to start, Stephanie, I want to start with you. You were here on the first. Kind of walk us through what your day looks like. What did you do? And like, what were your
My day
reactions?
my day was starting out pretty crazy. I definitely woke up too late. I thought that I was waking up 2 hours early, and I woke up too late. My daughter and I got over to, well, we were going to the Contemporary, and they turned us around because, of course, they were turning all the traffic around. You
Mhm.
had to have a dining reservation to even get into any of the hotels. And so we went to Ticket and Transportation Center and got on the ferry, and there was nobody on the ferry because, of course, the park had opened at 8 o'clock and there was already no one there. And so we walked in, and when we walked down Main Street, that we found all the crowds. We found
Mhm.
everybody standing outside all of the stores with, their phones out, the QR code systems. We were not going there directly. We were headed to Sleepy Hollow because I had promised her a Nutella waffle with the fruit on top. That's her favorite
Mhm.
treat. And so little did I know that you could mobile order at Sleepy Hollow now.
Oh.
And I wish I had known that because we ended up staying in about an hour to an hour and a half wait in the line to try to get that waffle. And so, yeah, that was interesting. We stood in line for food. We did not stand in line for rides because everybody there was there to get the merchandise. So,
Mhm.
which was crazy to me. Um, I missed out on some cool stuff. I will say that. But hopefully, I think Emma was talking about this earlier prior to starting here. She was saying things were already restocking. So hopefully, they'll have it throughout the 18 months and I'll be able to get back over there and pick up something. But the day of merchandise, obviously, that's left to the eBay resale at this point. So.
It's definitely kind of crazy. So I was there on the first as well. Jason was here and we stayed at the Polynesian. So we had planned to, we thought the park was opening at 7. Like there was apparently a memo that went out to some people and not everyone that the park was opening at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So we thought the monorail wasn't going to start running till 7 and we were going to have to walk to the park. So we leave and like we leave our room at the Contemporary or at the Polynesian, and we had friends who met us at the Poly lobby, and the monorail was already running. So we all jump on the monorail and we're like, oh, this is great. We're going to get to the park early. We get to the park at 6:45 a.m. and it's a mob scene. I mean, it was like, it was just a sea of people because they were not letting anyone pass the hub. Like they had everything walled off at the spokes to the lands. So you have like tens of thousands of people all packed into Main Street and the hub. And like nobody can go anywhere. Nobody knows what to do. The Emporium was open. Fist fights broke out in the Emporium because people were fighting over merch. And it wasn't even the day of merch. So that was the other thing that was not a memo that went out to anyone, is that the day of merch was all being sold. You had to get in a virtual queue, and it was all being done at Big Top Souvenirs. And by the time we got to the park at 6:45 a.m., the virtual queue was full. At 6:45 a.m., the virtual queue was full.
Wow.
So there was no way. So thankfully, like I know enough people who were already in line for the virtual queue that I got the merch I wanted, except for the Magic Band, because the Magic Band sold out by like 10 a.m. It was crazy. And then there was a separate virtual queue because they had all of these day of attraction pins. Well, I guess they weren't technically day of pins, but they went on sale on October 1st, and there were 20 pins that were all of the opening day attractions. Plus, there was like one for Main Street, I think, and one, like, there were a couple of not really attraction ones, but a set of 20 pins to the tune of $24.99 each. A limited edition of 2,000. And there was a separate virtual queue at Frontierland Trading Post for these 20 pins. And so I got in that virtual queue. I went from the time I got called back for the virtual queue to the time I exited with my pins was an hour. Everybody was just in line. When we got there at 6:45, the popcorn cart in the hub had a line probably 80 people long because they have these 4 different like 50th anniversary
colors.
Mickey balloon, and there's like a red one, a yellow one, a green one, a blue one. And so I think there were people that probably spent half their day in the Magic Kingdom waiting in line to get all 4 popcorn buckets, which I'm pretty sure are like widely available now.
They are.
Yeah.
Correct.
But like, so it was weird. So they opened to resort guests at 7. So we got to go in. We went into Tomorrowland and we're walking around. People Mover wasn't open yet. Joffrey's wasn't open yet. So we didn't know what else to do with ourselves. So we rode Buzz Lightyear. I got to the Magic Kingdom at 6:45 a.m. on the 50th anniversary. And the first thing I did was ride Buzz Lightyear because I didn't know what else to do.
I hope you maxed out your score. That's at least I hope you got.
I'm terrible at Buzz Lightyear. I'm terrible. And so it was just weird. And then so they did the new welcome show at 8 o'clock or like 7:55 or something. And we stayed and watched that. And then afterwards we were kind of like, what else is even happening here? Like we honestly, there was no schedule. We were pretty sure nothing else significant was really going to happen. We knew they were bringing back the Casey's piano player at like 1 o'clock. And we were like, oh, that'll be good to see. But right now it's like 8:30. What do we do? So we left, got on the monorail, went and had breakfast at Kona Cafe, and then came back to the park later. Like,
love it.
Tonga toast. You can't get better than that.
There was Tonga toast. But like we didn't know what else to do with ourselves because like literally the whole park was people waiting in line for merchandise, people waiting in line for popcorn buckets, people waiting in line for photo pass because there were a bunch of 50th photo pass opportunities, which Stephanie, I think you shared one of your pictures, which I'll throw up right now. But so they had
and
whole 50th
that was midday. This was after all the people had left. Like it was 3 o'clock. It was super hot, and we got just right in line in the middle of the day.
But yeah, like it was. I mean, there were huge lines for all of but still like 20 people deep, like lines for photo passes. Crazy. Nobody was going on rides. They were all going like waiting in these lines for other things. It was really strange.
Well, the one
And it
thing you
was
missed, Jill, because you jumped back over, was the announcement at 10 o'clock then. They did just a brief little, the magic. I can't even remember what it said, to be honest with you. I was standing in a line talking to somebody, but it was all throughout. I know. Apparently, it was all throughout all four parks at simultaneously at 10 a.m. I guess is when it originally opened, and so they made this sweet little announcement. I wish that they had done more. I wish that they had had Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews come out as she opened up the original park and everything. I wish that they had done that in accordance with their welcome show and everything too. And I had 50 characters on the stage. I wish that there had been more.
it was definitely it was surprising that they did so little. That there was
Yeah.
it just felt like there was so much missing, and that was a little bit
Right.
frustrating.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
Well, I was just going to say, so as somebody who didn't get to go, I was really, really bummed about it. I joked on the show that I was considering just getting a wild hair and maybe driving down with the baby and going, like, if I could, even if we didn't actually go to the park. And now I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because it sounds like I would have been even more ticked had I attempted that for what they did. Like, it didn't from the reports of everybody, it didn't seem like it was really anything more than just an average day in the park, but for the fact that everybody was waiting in line for merchandise and popcorn buckets. Like, that was the only thing that made it different than a normal, like, Friday in the middle of, or Saturday in the middle of summertime at peak hours. Like,
I will say, I think it was way more crowded. Like, I have not seen that. I don't think I've ever seen that many people in the park, to be quite honest with you. Like,
wow.
it was insane. And maybe it's because nobody was on rides. So
that probably, so you didn't have the crowd dispersion that you typically have even on, like, Christmas Day.
Exactly. Yeah, but, like, you didn't have that because everybody was just waiting for other stuff out in the park.
I mean, I feel so bad, but, like, because, Jill, you and I, we were at Studio's 30th. And so I had kind of my mom and my sister did go to the 50th. So I kind of got a play-by-play of how it shook out for them. But it was kind of the same thing. Like, they didn't know exactly. They had been told they were resort guests. They had been told that the park opened at 7. So they got there at like 5:45, like almost 6 o'clock. Because they were like, well, they were actually checking in that day. So they weren't on property. So they were driving into the TTC. So they were giving themselves a little bit of time. But they get there and they realize park's already open. They go through and they head straight to Emporium because, again, there was nobody there telling, and I don't blame the Turnstile cast members. I don't. But there was nobody there telling them, like, hey, this is where, passing out any kind of information, like, this is where merch is going to be. This is what's going down. You can go all the way down Main Street, but you're going to get stopped at the hub unless you're a resort guest. Because they were just letting everybody in. It wasn't even like they were checking for resort reservations to let you onto Main Street or into the Emporium before 7 a.m. Correct. So everybody could get into Main Street.
Yeah, they were only checking resort reservations to let you into the lands. And that only started at like 7 o'clock.
And so, I mean, and I, again, having gone to the 30th of Studios, had kind of like, with the caveat, I don't know what they're doing because obviously the 30th was pre-COVID. But, I was like, it wasn't so bad. Like, it was kind of really organized. Like, I got there early and they had 2 separate, like, areas. Like, if you wanted merch, you got in the turnstiles over here. And if you were doing something else or getting a good spot for the cavalcade and all, you got over here. And you walked through the turnstiles and they marched us all back to, I forget what store it was. Jill, do you remember?
It's the one over by, like, isn't it like Studio One? It's the one over by Muppet Vision.
Yes. And they marched us all back there. We got in a second queue and, like, but even as we were waiting to go through the turnstiles before the turnstiles open, there were cast members out there passing out a leaflet of, like, here's what all the merch is. and it even had the like quantities underneath of how much was being released of everything and the pricing. And so you could kind of like go ahead and pick out what you wanted before you even got in the park, let alone got to the store. Like, it was very, very organized compared to this mass chaos. And
I agree with you, the fact that you say it's disorganized, because I was staying at Wilderness Lodge and I didn't get the memo that it was going to open at 6 a.m.,
They had
and
no
maybe I
idea.
should have known
None.
that. I really had no
I
idea,
don't know
and
how
maybe
we
I should have
know.
known that.
Right.
So the only thing I can say is, so we were there the week leading up to the 50th. So we were there the 24th of September through the 3rd. And they were doing these walk-up reservations for Space 220. And so I said, this is going to be the last day for that. I wasn't able to get one online, so let me just try. So I get over to Epcot, and I'm an hour early, and it was supposed to open at 11. So I thought, okay, I get there, at 9:45. And I get inside. They were already letting people inside the park. And I get up to, Space 220, and the queue was already all the way back behind there and wrapping around 2 or 3 times. And I'm going, what in the world? So they obviously were letting people in over an hour before the park opened, which is frustrating because you think that you're getting there all at the same time. You have all the same opportunity as someone else.
Right.
I did end up getting a reservation there, but I waited an hour, in the line to get it, but that's okay. So, but yeah, I think it's ridiculous that they don't let people who are staying on property have, the opportunity to get there all at the same
any
time.
kind of advance notice. Well, and
But
again,
just
it's
tell
not
us
even
what you're doing. That's all we want is just tell us what you're doing.
Yes, just the communication.
Exactly.
Because again, like Studio's 30th, it was very clear, and they kept to that like what time they were opening the park. Like, people were still queuing up outside the turnstiles, and I think they opened the turnstiles like maybe 15 minutes early, walking people back. Like, if you were on the merchandise side, I think if you were getting in line for merchandise, like they started that turnstile process about maybe 15 or so minutes before park open. But you were marching straight back to the store, kind of like in this escorted with cast member queue to go get in line for the store. And I just remember, like, it was such a pleasant experience because I level playing field, got there early, got my merch, got my locker, and then could go on with the rest and enjoy the rest of my day. Cut to my mom and sister on Magic Kingdom's 50th, which is obviously a bigger deal.
Maybe.
They get basically like herded like cattle onto Main Street, kind of side pushed into the Emporium / go into the Emporium because they think that's where merchandise is, because that's what everybody thinks because nobody has told them any differently. And they were like, it was wall to wall people. Like, we could not move.
Yeah.
Only to find out that
like
not
we
even
walked
where the
into the Emporium and then turned around and walked right back out.
That's what they did. That's exactly what they did. And then that's when they were standing outside the Emporium like, well, what do we do? Because, again, they're still thinking the merch is in there. And then they heard somebody, again, don't blame the cast members, but not a cast member, somebody else whisper about Big Top and the virtual queue and the QR code to get into said virtual queue. Because it's not even... They could have just as easily done a push notification in the stupid app. Like,
right. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had a park pass for Magic Kingdom, you should have gotten a push notification that like this is what's happening
with the QR code.
This is when the park opens.
So they got there an hour and some odd minutes before the park opened. Didn't find out the virtual queue actually closed in like 20 minutes because they found out within 20 minutes of when the park opened. And it was already closed, at least for a time. Like, it crashed, it closed, they couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So they walked back as they're queuing, they walked back to Big Top, trying to figure out what to do. They sat for 4 hours outside of Big Top, just trying to get in the virtual queue to get in. Because they were like, well, what else are we going to do? Like, kind of like you, Jill. Like, they had already walked all the way back there because they heard Big Top and were trying to figure out how to get into the virtual queue, hoping that somebody at Big Top could help them. And by the time they walk back, they're like, well, what do we do? We don't want to ride anything. We collect the merch. There is merch that we wanted. So they sat there for 4 hours trying to get into this virtual queue, and I think they finally got in. And then they finally got to go shop at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Oh,
was
wow.
crazy.
So
Their
they
whole
eventually
day,
got in at least. I mean,
they
half the stuff
did.
was
Yeah,
sold
they
out by
eventually
then,
did. Mm-hmm. Well, they got lucky because I think at like hour 3.5, they also made friends with people who were also outside trying to get in, that they met there in all of their frustration. And those people had gotten in. Because here's another thing that nobody really talked about. So for this virtual queue, you didn't have to put down an amount of people for the queue. You just had to get somebody in. So even if your reservation, said 4 people, at Big Top, they weren't checking any of that. As long as you had the text message, they were letting you and your whole party in.
Yeah.
So that's eventually how they got in, is somebody that they made friends with got into the virtual queue. And so that's brought them with them.
See, the crazy thing that...
But it was just embarrassing. Like, I was like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. You're going to go, you'll get your merch, get your locker, go on with your day. No, their entire day basically was wasted chasing merch.
So I have a theory about that. I think it's, honestly, they just didn't know what they were exactly, other than the specific, like, day of, date, specific things. I don't think they knew exactly when all that merch was going to come out, because the Castle Collection and the Vault Collection were all released at different times, and, like, same with, well, I guess I don't know, whatever the main collection
but everything's out now.
Iridescent.
Right, everything's out now, and right, and so that's the thing. It's like, it's all out. It's being restocked. So, like, why there is such a mad dash for the popcorn buckets and all this merch, other than like the day specific things? It just blows my mind every time.
The popcorn buckets, I didn't understand, but at least the day of stuff I get, because that's how they do the anniversaries, right? That's what they did for Epcot 40. That's what they did for Studios 30. They have one shop with day of merchandise, and that's what they did. But that was where like 75% of the problems was people trying to get into that shop. Why have it in just one shop? Why not set up multiple locations?
Or
so that's what they
do, what you did at the 30th of Studios, and yes, have it in that one shop. But why are we relying on this technology that we've already established is unreliable at best? And you can't even say that you didn't know how many people were going to show up, because you knew exactly down to the person, because you had to have a reservation to get in.
Park pass.
So why on God's green earth, why'd you not just set up a queue outside of Big Top, which apparently I don't know if they took it down at some point, but apparently, at least when my mom and my sister went back there, they said that there was extended queue stanchions out there in front of Big Top. Like, they almost, like, I don't even know if the cast members knew that they were doing a virtual queue until that morning. Because apparently at about 6 or so, at least for a time, I think like right after the fist fight, Emporium even switched to a virtual queue also.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they got all those people out of the store to start enforcing the virtual queue, but allegedly it was. But it was just, why? Why couldn't you? Again, level playing field. At least then people who wanted the merch. And that's the one thing I'll say about the popcorn buckets. If that's how you want to spend your day queuing for merch, that's how you spend the day. But at least it's level playing field. You know how many people are in front of you. You know, that's, you can wait or you can choose to leave. But the anxiety of like trying to get into the virtual queue
just like
all day,
and that's the problem,
and running
right?
your battery dead on your phone, and then what happens if your phone goes dead and you don't get the text?
Then you can't.
And my mom even asked that question. Right, my mom even asked that question because her phone started to die like halfway through the day, and she asked the girl, she's like, "So what do I do if my phone dies?" And God bless the poor cast member, she's like, I don't know. What
you pay $30 for a fuel rod.
Go buy a
fuel rod. Pay $30 for a fuel rod.
So we have some, since we're talking so much about merch, we have, this was the day of collection that they had at Big Top. So this is basically, and like, here's the thing about it. Okay, so the Spirit jersey was actually pretty nice. And I like the bucket hat. But like everything else kind of wasn't, like, I wasn't particularly blown away with any of the 50th, the day of merch they did have.
And the day of, you know what, by the way, when I was there, they still had that gray shirt. And in the creation shop, they still had it.
Yeah, so they dumped whatever was left. I think they dumped into like Emporium and a couple other places on October 2nd. So like whatever was left, they dumped out into the general stores. But this, and then so here I believe is the Emporium.
Oh God.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
It looks
Limit
like
to
a
Allison
war.
sent us a picture. Yeah, right? Like, isn't that insane? That just like
There's-
everything is bare and there's like one like shredded pair of mini ears sitting on the shelf. And so
Those
there,
poor
I also
ears.
have
They've seen some things.
to give y'all a
I've seen
feel
some
for
things.
what Magic Kingdom looked like on the first. So this was, I
Wow.
was standing over on the bridge, like on the hub side of the bridge between the hub and Tomorrowland. So I'm kind of right on that corner looking at the castle for the welcome show. And it was just wall to wall people. I mean, like, it was just insane. And then this is once that was over and we went up into, like, we walked through the castle. And so turning around, this is the stage for the welcome show. And that is all the people standing out. Like, and this was not people standing and waiting for anything. This is just how crowded.
How many
the
people there
park
were? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a funny story
That's
really quickly.
insane.
There, you know, the plaza grass, the fake grass that's in the plaza hub area or whatever they call it. Okay, so they were doing, I don't know, I guess it was Good Morning America or something. It was some sort of a promo thing. And they were having people stand behind the gate and kind of cheer and this kind of thing. So like I said, we were in line for Sleepy Hollow, which goes up the pathway to the castle because it just went so far backwards. And I think it had to have been something related to that filming that they were doing, but they shot off it was like a flare. It wasn't a full firework, if you will, but you know, just one of those like boom. And there's a lady in front of us that totally screamed because nobody came up right and said, you know, hey, we're about to do this, or, you know, just cover your ears.
Yeah.
It
Oh my
it
God.
scared the heck out of everyone that was standing in the line right there.
Too
Oh,
funny.
here's one more good one of the Emporium in the morning. It was,
Oh my
Oh my
God.
goodness.
yeah.
Insane.
That's, if you weren't there, this is pretty much all you missed.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I feel
that's the thing that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's the thing that kind of like I'm also glad that the FOMO that I was feeling, like, I don't feel like is there anymore because it didn't seem like there was much going on. Like, I wish there had been more things, like a nighttime parade. Hello, nighttime parade, please.
Yes.
Or bring back Festival of Fantasy on top of the cavalcade, and maybe change up some of the costumes for the 50th, like something, you know, like if you're gonna be there all day waiting for things, why not give the people some kind of entertainment and make the day like truly special and more enjoyable?
I honestly didn't even see characters out.
No. Yeah, I didn't hear anything about characters being out.
just in the welcome show, and
Really?
that was really it.
But I mean, to Stephanie's point about Julie Andrews, like, how cool would that have been? Like, again, like, I feel like they did more and better prepared themselves for Studio's 30th than Magic Kingdom's 50th. And I don't understand how we live in a world where that happened.
Right. And like,
because
compared to Epcot 40, Epcot 40 was amazing.
Hasn't happened yet.
Huge presentation.
Epcot 40 is next year.
Epcot 35, thank you. There was a whole presentation. Like, I got to sit on a panel, like, and watch a panel with Tony Baxter. Like, they did a whole opening presentation where all these people came out and talked. They had the Voices of Liberty come out and sing like a cappella old school Epcot music. Like, it was great. And then Studios 30 was like a step down from that, but that's, you know, whatever. But at least it was something.
More than this.
But it was. It was so much more than this.
They did debut the new logo, remember? That was Studio's 30th.
Well, I think Emma had the right idea.
We have a story about that.
Oh, no. I think Emma had the right idea.
Yeah.
I think that you have to come.
Rowdy.
I think you have to go the first. If you're going to be there on the first, sure, but then stay like the week after, because leading up to it, there was nobody. I'll say that there was nobody in the park. So I like literally like a 30-minute wait on Flight of Passage. You know, these major attractions that usually have the one. I think Rise of the Resistance was the longest that we saw, and it was maybe a 65-minute wait, and that's really it.
There was a point in
So
time where actually I have some pics of other parks besides Magic Kingdom, and what they looked like. So this was Epcot.
Oh my
There's
God.
Epcot.
That's
There's
awesome
nobody
that
in
he's
World
back.
Showcase. Yeah.
Yay, Sergio.
That is awesome.
Sergio's back, and there's nobody in World Showcase. Oh, that's the Emporium pick again. This is Studios.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
And it's just, this is Galaxy's Edge. Look at it. Look at it.
Wow.
Truly.
That's Galaxy's Edge?
Yeah, there was a point in time where the wait for Rise was 20 minutes, and there's sunset later at night. The wait for Rise was 20 minutes. We went to Animal Kingdom, and the standby wait for Flight of Passage was 15 minutes. And I took a picture of the sign, but because it's that digital thing, it doesn't show up on camera. The wait for Flight of Passage was 15 minutes. It was crazy.
When we were there in April, they would have, a waiting list, basically like a virtual queue almost, for just to get into the marketplace at Galaxy's Edge. And you couldn't, and now I know there was still COVID restrictions and things like that for as how many people they could have in there. But literally, like, we just walked through this, past 2 weeks ago, we just walked through and there was nobody in there at all. So it was pretty nice to have the parks basically, if you want to say to yourself, because a 20-minute wait is a walk on on most attractions, let's be honest. So that's really great. But yeah, if you're wanting the merch and you're wanting the full 50th, like the food items that came out, we didn't get to really eat too many of those because, again, we left on the 3rd. But Emma, I know since you were there, you probably got to partake in more of those.
Yeah, I actually, so that's the other thing. I wanted to try all of the food, but my stomach is only so big, and I wasn't there that many days. And there's 150 food items, something like that.
There's so much.
But
so we have some pics of some of the food items. So this is the Sipabration. Right? This is Stephanie gave us this picture. But so if you haven't seen this, we have a video on TikTok. So Jason and I got this at Kona at breakfast that morning. And Jason took a video of it and we put it on TikTok, on the WDWNT TikTok, and it got like 400,000 hits. But you get this little, it's like a sugar cube that's shaped like you can get Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Pluto, and you drop it into your lemonade and stir it, and it turns it pink and makes it like super sugary sweet.
They called it cotton candy. This is Liberty Tree, so they called it maybe it's cotton candy flavored there.
Yeah, I don't remember if ours was flavored. We had the Mickey one too, and it was red like that. And then this is, here's your waffle.
So that's the waffle. I like the paper.
It had
that is really pretty packaging.
The old school, like retro looking paper. But you talked about not knowing you could mobile order. But here's the other thing about it. In Magic Kingdom, I was hearing reports from lots of different people who had mobile ordered food, and it was taking like 2 hours for their mobile order to be ready.
That happened to my mom and my sister.
Yeah.
Happened to me.
Even if you absolutely had mobile ordered, it might not have mattered. And then this is the Snow White Dole Whip.
So cute.
This is the Mr.
Yes!
Toad sandwich, which is really good. And then this, that is the Nutella waffle. And somewhere I have a picture, which I will try to find, of I did the cake, the celebration cake shake at Beaches and Cream, and so it was like a
that looked amazing.
Milkshake. It was so good. It was the best cake I've had. Like, I would highly recommend.
Oh, really?
It was such good cake.
Wow.
But it's like an entire slice of like vanilla cake on top of a milkshake, and it was delicious. Definitely no complaints there. So yeah, but apparently like a lot of the 50th food is really good.
Yeah,
So
I said last night, I like that pastrami spring roll. Oh my god, that's the best and probably my favorite spring roll out of all of them.
So we walked past the spring roll cart just the other day, and Jason was like, "Oh, look, they have a 50th spring roll." And I was like, "What flavor is it?" And he said pastrami, and I just thought, what a strange choice.
Right.
Just
Weird choice, but delicious.
But hey, fine.
Maybe Walt liked
Yeah.
pastrami.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. But I also had that the Dole Whip or the citrus swirl with the apple juice or apple cider, whatever it was called.
How was that?
Yeah,
That's the
was
thing. I know Tom said something about it, or like I read the review, and that the vessel was a little odd, that like the apple juice wasn't more involved with the citrus swirl, but actually I kind of like that you got a little bit of the original citrus swirl, then a little bit of both together, and then the apple cider. But I actually kind of liked the two together. It was a little on the sweet side, but I thought it was good. It was refreshing. So
Was there any
I
other
like it.
50th stuff you tried, Stephanie?
I had the filet at the Brown Derby in Hollywood Studios, and it said with
Okay.
Walt's corned beef hash, which doesn't sound like it would be good, but it was actually very good. And I know you can get the his famous chili on fries in Frontierland at that. The name's gonna escape me, but it's across from Pecos
Westward
Mill,
Ho?
the cart.
Westward
Yeah,
Ho.
that's yeah. You can get that
Yeah.
there. I didn't try it, but I think you can get that as well. You know, his famous chili.
So, speaking of like not really, not the counter service snack type of things, but more the stuff like the sit down stuff that you can get. So we did Steakhouse 71, which we did breakfast, and it's funny because it's basically the exact same menu as the Wave used to be, which I have zero complaints about. I'm glad they didn't mess with the Wave breakfast. And the other glorious thing about so the interior of Steakhouse 71 is gorgeous. We had an article on the website. Go check out the pictures.
It is.
I actually think between what they did to the contemporary lobby and what they did with redoing the Wave. Here's a picture from the contemporary lobby, which they basically did derivative of Mary Blair's mural in the Grand Canyon concourse, and did
Love
like
that.
these basic like long wall
Wow.
stickers, and basically in the style of, and I for as much as Disney has kind of like missed the mark on design in hotels and shops lately, they absolutely nailed the contemporary lobby. I love it. It just brings such a huge
Did.
smile to my face. Steakhouse 71 is so much brighter than the Wave used to be, and like the entire hallway walking down is like old pictures of like Waltz and like the parks being built,
awesome.
and it's gorgeous. But they have Waltz hash, which is like I think it's like a prime rib hash. Pass on that. It was not great. It kind of tasted really chemically. So you've also got like these weird one-off entrees for the 50th at some of the sit-down restaurants. But the thing I will highly recommend, and I know it's pricey, but we did the 50th prefix dinner at California Grill, and it was stellar. I mean, just absolutely stellar. It's like $89 a person. It's really pricey. You get an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. They do wine pairings, but like it was so good. They stepped it up a notch on their service, which service at California Grill is generally really, really solid. But it was definitely like elevated for this experience, and the food was just fantastic. So like between that and Space 220 opening, which again, like I had an amazing meal at Space 220 as well. Like everything I tried was good. There were some things that were better than others, but everything was good. So I feel like they're at least not missing the mark on some stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, that's good to hear about.
Would your breakfast? Would your breakfast be better with The Incredibles? That's the question.
I can't imagine characters in what they have done, what Steakhouse 71 looks like. I can't imagine. It would be like such cognitive dissonance.
I
But
mean,
seeing
actually,
what
what
they
they
did
could
with the
do.
lobby, though, it made me wonder. I mean, I get the whole IP. We need IP everywhere, but that lobby is so gorgeous. Why? And I saw a lot of people make this comment. Why didn't they just redo the rooms to keep in keeping with that same motif?
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Way off topic,
I mean,
but
no, but I mean, I was just gonna say that's good to hear that with the, like, even at the sit down restaurants, that they're still upping their game and things. That's exciting to hear, because I'm sure my parents would love to go back to the California Grill because their 30th anniversary is coming up in March, and so they're doing a week cruise, and they've invited me to stay with them when they stay at the Grand Floridian so for a week as well, just like they did on their honeymoon. So I'm sure they're going to want to go to California Grill for their special meal. So that's good to hear
They
that
absolutely should.
that menu's good. Yeah.
It was excellent. Huge props to that one. Yeah, so I mean, like, I think the food, they're doing a really good job with the food for the most part. Like the 50th snacks, I don't think like, most of the reviews we've had of the 50th snacks throughout have been really positive. The thing I'm looking forward to trying the most is, I don't know if you've seen the crazy, like, Maya Aztec pyramid.
Oh, the mega dessert.
Yes.
Mexico. That's what, like, I need to find like 8 people to go to
Yes.
and like get that with me, because like it just looks so
totally
cool.
down.
Grab
it really does. Yeah. So I mean,
hit me up. My treat. Crazy dessert.
It does, and you know, we kind of touched on, you know, the day of merch not being, you know, overwhelming, but that's another thing. Like, a lot of the other merch, even if it's not necessarily to my taste, you know, I have been, you know, impressed with what's, like, there are obviously some things that I've got on the Mr. Toad shirt right now. Like, the Vault collection was really
I got that
cool.
one too, yeah.
Yeah. And so you know, it's comforting to know that other departments aren't just, I don't get the impression that they're resting on the laurels. I think they are trying to plus the offerings. I mean, how many collections are we technically up to for the 50th? Like, there's the Iridescent collection, the
Castle, Celebration,
Day of.
the Iridescent, the Day of, and then we still got the Luxe coming out. That's like the black corduroy.
Yeah, the black and
that's still on the horizon. I don't even remember if there's anything else. But I mean, that's part of it. And like, I don't know if this is more a matter of they're throwing everything against the wall and hoping something sticks, because there's so much merchandise. I mean, it's like insane how much different 50th merchandise there is. But to your point, Ashley, that translates into, well, you're bound to find something you like. Like, I didn't buy a ton of any particular thing, but
no,
I
but like,
I found that bomber jacket and like a water bottle, and I was really excited about the Joffrey's coffee, even though it's kind of a little bit lackluster. But there's just, like, there's plenty out there.
I would think, in my opinion, I don't know that there's so much throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks, because it seems like they're very, for the most part, cultivated collections. Like, it's not like and again, I'll keep going back to the Studio's 30th because that's the most recent one in memory. But like with Studio's 30th, all of that merch was, they just slapped the logo on there, and that was like the merch for that anniversary was very lackluster. No, and there wasn't a lot. But I feel like for the 50th at least, and I'm torn about how much I want to praise this, because, you know, of course we're going to make the merch great, because then that makes Chapek money. But
right.
I feel like they cultivated these collections and things with actual thought in mind to that point, so that there is something for everybody, whether you wanted the retro, whether you wanted, you know, the Luxe collection and something that's more, you know, in now on like TikTok or whatever, or you wanted, you know, they kind of like took a little bit of everything that they see that sells really, really well and cultivated a collection around it so that people could have something that they would enjoy for the 50th. And I do think that that was a really great thing that they've done, because for, even for like, you know, Epcot or Magic Kingdom 40th, like it always seemed like before they went with like one solid theme, and if you didn't like the theme or the logo or what have you, you were just SOL. You weren't going to find anything that you liked, because everything across the board was going to be stamped with
Was
that
the same thing,
whatever pattern or whatever it was. So if you hated it, you were stuck. And I do like
I
that
think
they,
they kind
you
of
know,
had to, right? I mean, they had to, because they are kind of distracting you from the fact that they don't have the
they
rides
didn't actually
open.
do anything. Yeah.
They didn't do
fair point.
anything. There's
Fair
not
point.
there's not the
Nope.
parade, you know, there's not
Right.
They didn't even have any,
entertainment.
whether it was Julie Andrews or anybody, they didn't even have anybody come out and like as part of the welcome show and like say a few words about like the park is so great. Nothing. They did a whole cavalcade and everything. And again, a presentation that I'm very proud of Jill for booing at, you know, at the studio's 30th. Like it was a great,
and yet they've lowered
moment.
the bar
It really
even
was.
further.
And yet somehow, for the most important anniversary of the flagship resort that we have had to date, they blew it worse than Alabama did on Saturday. Like,
Right.
I just don't.
Like, that's the thing.
Well,
I was gonna say the thing that I'm thinking of is all the stuff that Tom posted, all the videos he took of the stuff that they did for the opening of the Art of Marvel hotel over in Disneyland Paris, and how many presentations they have for that, and that special little thing that they had for the grand opening of that. And that's just a hotel. We're talking about an entire resort here. The least that they could have done was done that press event. They could have, even if they had to do just for the press and then again like the next day in the park, like they should have done that. Like they had enough people there.
Exactly.
It's not like they didn't have the money. Like they should have done that.
Right. And I swear, if I hear somebody say, well, COVID, nothing.
No.
Because again, the pictures and everything,
wall-to-wall people.
They didn't care about COVID precaution at all, clearly. Because again, otherwise operations wouldn't, and again, I'm not blaming frontline cast members, but operations management would not have let it be the cluster that it was of just wall-to-wall people everywhere.
Also, fun fact, merch update, I just got my new magnet today.
Yay!
Oh, anyway.
And he's surprisingly cute. He didn't photograph very well, but he's actually cute.
I was gonna say, I kind of like this. I didn't know if I was going to, but I kind of like it. Anyway, we're gonna...
So let's talk about the things that did actually happen on October 1st, i.e. Most especially Enchantment and Harmonious. So I'll throw it to you first, Stephanie. Thoughts on both, either. Which did you like better, or which did you not like at all? What?
Well, I saw Enchantment on the 1st, so I was part of that massive crowd, and I really wish that I had stood. I don't know where you stood, Jill, but I stood in the Plaza Garden area, and I wish I had stood a little bit further back. Maybe closer to Casey's or a little bit further back, just so that I can see all the projections down Main Street. I had to turn around to see exactly what was happening.
I didn't see any of them.
So
I didn't see any of them.
Okay,
because I was in that area in front of Casey's. Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we had missed the main event, right? Because a lot of what Enchantment is, they took from Happily. Like they have some of the same scenes. They changed the music. It's done in a different way. I get that. But they took some of the same stuff. So.
I said it was Happily. It's Happily 2.0. That is my description of Enchantment. It is Happily 2.0.
Yes.
It's
but
like
worse.
the same.
And
movies,
I don't think it's better.
Song.
No.
I don't think it's better.
So
I think it's a step down.
I'm not trying to say it's better. The couple of things I will say is it's growing on me as I've seen it a couple times now. I've only seen it once in the park. I saw it once from Contemporary, and I've seen it from Eric's Sidewalk, where we sync up the music and watch the fireworks, so you get none of the projections. The music is growing on me. The soundtrack is growing on me. The thing that I hate about it, that I loved about Happily, is Happily had a story, Happily had a narrative.
Yes.
And it wasn't like super cohesive or like well structured, but it was a story. And Enchantment doesn't have a story. It doesn't have,
Mm-mm.
this sort of like, it doesn't really have a point other than like, you are the magic, which is great, but like,
It
there's nothing else to it but that. And
it
so I'm
feels
kind of like,
disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
it does. So there are some really good songs. I actually really love a lot of the music that they picked. I think the projections on the castle anyway, because I didn't get to see anything down Main Street. The projections on the castle are better in terms of like quality of resolution of what they're doing, but of course they should be. But that all that being said, it's not better. The my favorite thing about it is there's this one part of it where like basically it's like the castle goes black and there are just like stars. And like that was so cool. And I was just like, oh, look at that. Like that was like the wow moment
Mm-hmm.
of like what they do with the projections. But beyond that, like it wasn't like, it's not bad. It's just it's not better. I'm
No,
never
it
gonna
wasn't
like the
anything
Dwarven color.
special.
Yeah.
Right, but
Go
that's
ahead,
the
Ashley.
problem. We're talking about Magic Kingdom's 50th. You are, and I'll say, I'm a person, I prefer Wishes over Happily. I know, slightly a controversial
Me too.
opinion, but
No, same here.
I have a lot of emotional attachment to Wishes. But
That's fair.
I could at least appreciate, even though Happily was still a really good show. I was still mad that Wishes went away, but I understand it was a great show that a lot of people formed the same emotional attachment that I had to Wishes to Happily. And it seems like, at least to me, I haven't watched a full video of it, but even just watching the clips and hearing people like Jill talk about it, it seems like they once again made the mistake of, instead of allowing this new technology and the projections down Main Street and everything to enhance a story, they started with the technology first and then built the show around the tech, instead of starting with, like they should, like all the great ones do, starting with the story that they wanted to tell and then getting the technology to serve that story. So it's going to be a lot harder for people to form that emotional connection to this show. And again, I'm going to gripe on it. There's nothing special for the 50th. They could have saved themselves a buttload of money and just done a special 50th tag on Happily, and everybody would have been far happier.
And spend that money on something else. But like, to your point about the technology driving the show, that's actually a really good segue into talking about Harmonious. Because if they do it with, if you say they do it with Enchantment, it's like 5 times that for Harmonious. Like Harmonious is just about like, here, look at this thing we can make happen. And like, it makes no sense.
That's exactly
like,
right.
Honestly, I kind of feel like, for those of you who are old enough in the audience, if you've ever been to like a laser light show at a planetarium with like your favorite 70s or 80s rock band, it's that with water on World Showcase. Like, that's what it is.
That's a very accurate, that's a surprisingly accurate description though. Like,
that's good.
Yeah. Again, like, my problem with Harmonious is that it just was not, the flow of the show was not very good. Like, I liked the choices of the IP that they put in there as far as like being more inclusive. I think that was good. I think everything looked really pretty. Like, I liked the water effects. I liked what they did with the pyro, and I thought, what they could do with the barges was really cool. I didn't like the animation on the screens. I still don't. I think some of it was really weird choices there. And the fact that, again, like I said last night, one of them broke in the middle of the show. There was a big black square in the middle of one of the taco bars.
Of course it did.
During that performance. And again, it's like not even a week of this thing being open to the public and it already breaks. But it just, too many applause breaks. Like, they could have done a lot better with the music and making it flow together and actually like have, a better arc. Like, I was thinking if they're gonna make it like a big party and a celebration, then go the route of Mickey's Mixed Magic and like actually remix stuff and have it, you know, all flow together more. You know, I would have been okay with that, but like that if they're going for something with like less of a story, but I like my favorite moment was when they played Someday at the end. I was like, oh, that's the point of the show. Where was that at the beginning? Where was that throughout this entire thing?
So I have to give a huge shout out here to Rosita Klein, who gave us a $50 super chat for the Laser Light Show. Yes, Rosita. How much would I love to see Laser Floyd on World Showcase Lagoon? Like, that is... We could, we have the technology. We literally have the technology now floating in the middle of World Showcase Lagoon. I want to see, like, Roger Waters come do a takeover of Epcot for a night and I will pay, like, that would be the most primo hard ticket event you could possibly give me to do.
After hours event, right? Let's do it.
That would be so good.
I think to Ashley's point earlier, I really agree with you. I was a big fan of Wishes, and then I liked Happily after that, and then this is just a step below that, and then Harmonious is below Enchantment even further. But I think that it comes with expectations. So like with DVC, people say, oh, it's a timeshare. No, it's not a timeshare. It's a prepaid vacation plan. That's how you need to think of it, okay? And when you're talking about Wishes, people say, oh, we go to Disney World, we have to see the fireworks. And that's true, because fireworks at your house is not anything compared to Disney World fireworks. But you're not seeing fireworks now. You might see some firework, right, that comes here and there, but it's not a fireworks show anymore. It's a projection show. Happily was a projection show, first of its kind, and it was fantastic that incorporated the fireworks. But this is even a step further than that. And then Harmonious, it's a laser show on water.
It's a nighttime spectacular.
Sure.
You know what? That's the other thing. I'm like, when is too much gonna be too much? I feel like now it's really hard to focus on what to look at. Like and maybe that's just because I'm a millennial. I don't know. But like there's so much to look at. Like even with Enchantment, like, okay, well, do I watch what's going on if I'm standing on Main Street? Do I watch that? Do I watch what's going on in the castle? That's the other thing. A well-designed show tells the audience where to look, and I feel like these shows don't do that.
Well, and the other thing that Harmonious fails at, speaking of where to look, is like, look, you have the perfect theater in the round venue, which is World Showcase Lagoon. You have a central focal point in the middle of the lagoon, and you have 360-degree viewing all around it. However, that is not the show they designed in Harmonious. No. If you're standing off by like Canada, you don't see anything. Right. You basically have to be either like in the plaza or in America to see the big central ring and everything that's going on there. And sure, you can see the taco barges, but like they're only half the show, really. They designed this show to like not be properly viewed from the place where they knew the show was going to be. It just like it's such a failing.
Even with the water effects, like if you're standing on the side of the ring, then you're only seeing half of it and you're not seeing the full stage picture that was designed. Because you can tell, like if you stand like where Port of Entry is, like that's where they clearly designed the show from. Like that's what it was. And like, so, and I mean, I guess, you know, it might be worth it to do the dining package or something so you can guarantee yourself like a good viewing spot for that, like rather than the dessert party. But like, I don't even know if the show is good enough to shell out the money.
The dessert parties are now in like poor viewing spots for the show. Like the landings in France and Italy are not well positioned to have like a straight on view of the ring. And so if you're not straight on watching the ring, you don't get a great view of the show. It's such a design flaw. It's not even funny. And like how they spent all of this time and money building this show that's like so poorly designed for the space. Like it's such like, I feel like you could have like a second year architecture or like design student from like the like lousiest design school in the country, and they would have thought of this, like it's like they missed such a huge important part of it.
Conspiracy theory. Way far out there conspiracy theory. But do you wonder if maybe at some point, like the taco barge and the ring were supposed to somehow like almost rotate to be better viewing? Because remember, originally they were like, the whole reason that Epcot Forever was a thing is because they had to build a lagoon and everything backstage bigger so that the barges could move in and out during like reflect or like illuminations used to. And so I wonder, because that they used to were going to be like motorized and be able to move, was all of like, were the barges going to move during the show? So even if you didn't have like a perfect view all the time, that maybe
it would
like
rotate.
certain it would rotate, and at least you like, I do kind of wonder that, like, maybe how far midstream when they decided that they were just going to make it stationary, and maybe that's part of why it took so long to open, is because they were trying to figure out how to fix it, and then just said, oh, hell, we can't fix it because now they don't move. So
that would make sense.
Like, it's a way far out conspiracy theory, but giving the benefit of the doubt to the show designers, I could see them not intending for, for whatever they planned, they didn't plan for them to be stationary.
Could be.
At least like the taco barges. I don't know.
I also feel like, though, there's so much going on, though, that, like, I don't know how that would work technology-wise with them trying to rotate and the water effects working the way that they're supposed to. Like, if all of that was going on at the same time.
Well, I wonder how much of that they had, but think about it. They may have had to change and rework all of that when they realized that they weren't going to move.
I don't know.
I just think it looks like a giant octopus.
It does. Like, it's like that like water toy you put in the yard for the kids, and it's like arms are waving everywhere, and it's just spraying water.
Oh my god.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that happened the weekend of the anniversary was the WDWNT Golden Jamboree, which maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's probably the best thing that happened for the anniversary.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And,
hands down.
So it was an awesome experience. I'm going to throw up a couple pictures that I have from the Jamboree. This is, here we have half of them were former cast members from the Adventurers Club. Half of them are former cast members of Comedy Warehouse. They did a panel discussion for us that was hilarious. They did an improv segment for us that was hilarious. They did
The magician was wonderful.
And the magician was fantastic. He was there during the day. They did a reunion of like the retirees club of what was the Adventurers Club. That was fantastic. And that was just one of the highlights. We also had Carol Stein.
Yes.
Carol. The pianist from the UK Pavilion. She wrote a song about WDWNT and sang it for us. It was amazing. Awesome. It was amazing.
That's amazing.
So, if you missed the Golden Jamboree, we had also had virtual tickets live, but you can still purchase virtual access to all of the Golden Jamboree. You get all the video content that we streamed all day Saturday, all night Saturday. We had Piano Rob out and had an amazing time. Oh my gosh, like there's a point in time where like 5 of the news, like Tom and me and Eric, and a bunch of people are like standing in the back of the room, like with our arms around each other, like singing Billy Joel and swaying. It was amazing.
It's what should have happened from Disney. It's what should have happened from Disney.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But so you can go to goldenjamboree.com and you can still purchase virtual access to all of the Golden Jamboree videos through the end of October. that is available.
And there's
so if you haven't checked it out, highly recommend.
Coupon code golden for 50% off, so it's a $10
Oh,
ticket.
right,
now
you
instead
get
of
it for
$20.
$10. Yeah, you can pay, it's only $10 to get all of that, and it's probably like 20 hours of video content, give or take. It's a lot. It's
Awesome.
a lot. So you're gonna get it.
I honestly regret missing Golden Jamboree more than Disney's 50th.
I think that's a good statement.
Yeah.
Both a wonderful thing to say about our company, but also a terrible thing to say about the Walt Disney Company.
No, I agree.
Yes.
That's the thing that I have FOMO about, is not being in person for that. But I'm glad I have the streaming so I can watch it.
Well, and so I also want to, like, part of what was so great about the 50th and part of what's so great about being part of WDWNT and is like love amongst all of the people who work here, all of our fans, all of our WIGS. We had parties at our Polynesian bungalow prior to the 50th, and that was crazy good time. We had a whole bunch of WIGS come out for that. We got to talk to and meet all the WIGS at the event, got to see lots of people who, Arlo was there. Arlo came from California. That was so exciting.
Arlo's mom.
And Arlo's mom, Tracy, who is like the sweetest woman alive. We had so many people. Elise was there, and Courtney, and I feel like I'm doing like the Reading Rainbow.
Mandy
thing
was
now.
there, yeah.
Like, I see Gordon,
Mandy, yes, that
Mandy.
one.
I see Dawn, and I see Kate. Good stuff. I see Mike, and it was
Peggy and Colin. I have to shout out to them too.
So many good people.
It's always a great time.
I'll throw up a couple last pictures here, just to share the love.
Yay!
So
Aww.
Desi and Emma got to
Yay,
have a
Desi.
drink together at UK. We had, there we go. We had Miss Allison and Wolf and Lucas were out. And then I don't think he knows I'm showing this picture, but this is one of my favorites. Jake met Jeff Volley in the park.
Oh wow. Nice.
Wow.
Jake and Jeff Volley. But that was cool. Jeff Volley was out in the park, so that was nice. But so, like, at least, you had you had people out who, like, there were like an insane amount of executives there, and they were all out in the parks too. So they were at least making their presence known and hopefully realizing that, like, oh, maybe we really sort of dropped the ball on a lot of this. But with that, I want to go around. Am I allowed to say around the hub? Will Patrick sue me for that?
Nah, you're fine.
I want to go around the hub and like tell me your highlight and tell me like your like biggest like disappointment from what happened with the 50th. And I'll start with you, Emma.
I mean, I guess the highlight is just all the merch and food offerings, which I know there's kind of two different things, but honestly, that was like the most exciting thing, and the thing that stands out to me was how much effort that those teams put into that. And yes, I know those are things that make the Walt Disney Company money, but at least there was the detail and all of those, that like some thought put into everything that was presented. And I honestly and I know a lot of entertainment has been called back, but which is exciting, but my low light is gonna be the new entertainment offerings like Enchantment and Harmonious. I don't think those were good enough shows to be enough for the 50th, and I honestly think they could have done more things, like either brought back even more things or made more new things for the 50th entertainment wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about you, Stephanie?
My highlight was definitely Golden Jamboree. I wish I could have stayed longer because I flew out on the 3rd, and meeting everybody, like I said, I mean, just meeting all the cast, like everybody from WDWNT, but also all the great people, and seeing in the Magic Kingdom on the 1st, there was an energy and it was an excitement, but it was from everybody there. It wasn't from Disney and necessarily the cast or anything like that. It was from the people who had themselves dressed up. They were, dressed out in the Dapper Day type outfits. Some people had full-on ball gowns. Some people were Disney bounding. And that was really neat to see that kind of energy. My low light, I agree with Emma about the new entertainment offerings and the fact that they didn't have a nighttime parade. They didn't bring back because that's really what Disney is known for, right? It's the nighttime parades. Again, not something that you can get at your local parade, 4th of July, in your hometown. But, they didn't bring back Main Street Electrical. They could have brought over a portion of Paint the Night. They could have even, God forbid, but they could have even rebuilt some of Spectro. Oh my goodness, they built it once before. They can build it again. I'm sure they still have the plans. But anyway, I mean, they could have done something that was more than that. Bring back and honestly, I went to the Boo Bash on the 24th. They didn't have characters out. Now they have characters out. So maybe they're learning. I guess it's getting closer to Halloween. Maybe that's part of that too. But yeah, I feel like they really dropped the ball there when it came to entertainment.
Ashley?
It's hard to say what my highlight was, unfortunately, since I wasn't there. But I think my highlight was just being able to talk to my mom and my sister and hear from them about, all the cool things that did happen to them. Again, they made friends, which is always a cool experience at Disney, that they hung out with for the day, and meeting new Disney fanatics. But my low light would definitely be, again, just the lack of entertainment offerings. And speaking as a former cast member, the lack of coordination and organization. Again, those poor frontline cast members. I mean, I feel like, at least not even just from my mom and my sister, but, from other people that I talked to, those poor cast members were just getting berated all day for things that they could not help. I mean, on multiple occasions, at least twice, my sister said that she saw either cast members with tears in their eyes, or like at one point she saw one girl, after a guy had screamed at her, that actually had to walk backstage because she was in tears. So clearly that probably wasn't even the first time she'd been yelled at. Like, that's not what their experience should have been on the 50th. No. It should have been, if it had been more well organized so that guest experience was better, cast could have enjoyed the 50th. And that's not to say that there probably weren't cast members that enjoyed the 50th. But clearly there were also those that didn't, because of things that were outside of their control. Again, the mobile ordering system and everything, and all the confusion with merch and all of that. Like, they should have been well organized. I mean, they set up those frontline cast members for a buzzsaw, and that was just awful. And so I hope that, if anything else, they get that takeaway right, and they start organizing these kinds of events and Christmas and all of that far better, like they used to. Because it's not like this is their first rodeo with a major event or an anniversary. There's no excuse for what happened, and hopefully it doesn't happen again, especially with as many executives and people that were in the parks seeing what was going down.
Yeah. For me, I would say, I think the highlight was probably Golden Jamboree, because it was such an experience, and it was something that I mean, more so other people on staff have put so much blood, sweat, and tears into, and to see it all turn out so well, and everybody have such a great time, and we got to really talk about the stuff that people wanted to hear about. We got to talk about things like how the Main Street Electrical Parade came to be, and we got to celebrate entertainment from the past at Disney, whether it be stage shows and parades, or whether it be, the live performances from places like the Adventurers Club and Comedy Warehouse. We got to celebrate so much of what has made us all love Disney so much over the years. And I think, kind of the flip side of that is the thing that I'm most disappointed in, which is just, it was such a demonstration of the lack of care that the leadership of the Walt Disney Company has for the parks and for people like us. Like, people who were there, that park was filled, beyond capacity. It was insane. And every single one of those people were there because they love Walt Disney World and they wanted to be there. And they were all basically let down by how things went that day. And that's just I feel like it was just such a demonstration, such a massive, in your face demonstration of we used to do things, we used to care, and we just don't anymore, and this is all you get. And I think, that it says that for, and I mean, that speaks to what you were talking about with the cast members too, Ashley. Like if Disney really cared about their cast members, they would have done more, because the cast members are the heart and soul of these parks. And if that's all the better they can do by their cast members too, like, that's really disappointing.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't have not imagined that things were going to go sideways, as disorganized as it was for your frontline cast.
Yeah.
And you know what's even more disappointing? They even mentioned in their 50th special that they had on ABC that the cast members are the magic and the people that make it happen, and yet see how poorly they're treated and how,
and they do. It's lip service.
It's lip service.
Mm-hmm.
But they truly are, as my shirt says. They are the magic. Anyway,
I have this really picture. They were doing this. I saw them do this in Boutique at the Polynesian, and Miss Allison sent us this picture from Wilderness Lodge. But they had photo pass going around and doing pictures of cast members holding these "We Are the Magic" signs, and it's adorable and it's wonderful. Awesome. But it's like, put your money where your mouth is. If that's really how you feel, then act like it. Just handing them a wooden cutout and taking a picture is not enough.
Right, then don't lay off 32,000 of them, like, when things go south.
Yeah.
In the middle of a pandemic, and then restore your full salary. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fine. Still
maybe they'll get it right in the next 50 years.
Maybe. Or there won't be 100-year anniversary, one or the other.
Oh!
Hot take. All right. Well, with that, ladies, I think we're going to wrap up the show tonight. I want to thank everybody in the audience for watching. If you could hit that like button for us on the way out, we would love you for it. Thank you. And we will be back again in 2 weeks on October 25th. And we'll see you then for another awesome episode of Ink and Paint. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.